This video will show you how to create results animations from your finite element analyses using Patran 2010. So here in Patran, I'll go ahead and create a plot of my results from this analysis. I'll just create a quick plot of my stress tensor showing my von Mises stresses and my displacements. I'll go ahead and click apply. I can see that I've generated this plot, but I also have the option here, this little checkbox at the bottom of the form for the plot, where I can check and select animate. If I click apply, I can see that Patran generates an animation of the fringe plot that I just created. Patran also opens this animation control form, where I have options to pause the animation and then display any of the frames that it created. In this case there were 8 frames. I can go through the animation frame by frame. I can also adjust the starting and ending frame. So if I only want to view an animation of a portion of it, I can do that here, and I can adjust the speed that the animation is displayed at. So one question that we get a lot is, how do I stop my animation? You know, I clicked on this checkbox and now I can't see my fringe plot and my model's moving around. How do I stop it? And down here at the bottom of the form, you basically have 3 options, and any of these buttons will stop your animation. The question is, what else does Patran do? Does it just leave the model as it's displayed? So this no graphics refresh just leaves whatever frame was currently being showed on your screen. Or I could unpost your result tools, where it'll just not show you any results and return you back to just viewing your finite element model. Or the third option, it'll refresh your results tools. So it'll return to the plot that was displayed before you generated your animation. So now that you know how to create an animation and how to get out of it, I'll show you that there's some additional animation options that show up on this animation options form that's on a lot of the different forms in Patran. Now here you can choose how an animation will be created before it's created. So you can choose whether to animate the fringe or the deformation. In this case we animated both, but you could have the fringe remain constant and the deformation animate, or the other way around. You also have the option for modal or ramped animation. And I'll just show you the difference between these. I just switched to a ramped animation and clicked apply, and we can see that it goes between 0 load and the full load being applied. Whereas before, with the modal animation, it oscillated between the full load and negative the full load. So it, from the positive value to the negative value. And so it's just a different visualization. And it's up to you and your particular situation which one you want to use. You also have option for the graphics. In this case we generated a 2D animation. We can also generate a 3D where we'll get better quality graphics if our computer graphics will support it, and in this case mine will, so I'll go ahead and create a 3D. In this case do a ramped animation, and I'm going to increase the number of frames. It was kind of jumpy between the different frames there before with only 8, so now I'll create, say, 25 frames. I'll click apply. Patran will go through and create my animation, and now I can see that I have a smoother animation. So I can also here take this chance to look at this cycle versus bounce for the animation sequence. We can see that in this animation it goes from 0 loading to the full loading and then starts back over at 0. And if I switch to bounce, we can see that it just turns around. It loads and unloads. So it's really up to you how you want to visualize it, but just as long as you know where to make that change here. And so again, I can refresh my results and get out of that animation. Also under animation graphics here, I have the option to create a Vrml or an MPEG file. For MPEG, there's an option to create the MPEG in a default window size. I'll go ahead and leave that on and click apply. And I can see that my window was resized and it went through one cycle of the animation. Now what Patran did here, it's telling me that it finished recording my quick plot animation as an MPEG file. And I can actually view this animation because it was saved to the working directory of Patran. So now I've opened the animation, the MPEG file that Patran saved, and I can play it and view it outside of Patran. So this is one way to just save your results as a movie file that you can then share with others. So I've been showing you these options for a quick plot, but it's important to note that these same animation options are available for many of the different plots in Patran. You can do it for deformation, fringe, vector plots. You still have these same animation options and then the animate checkbox at the bottom of the form. The last thing I wanted to show is this create animation option. And here you can create an animation from an existing animation plot that you've already done. So you could generate a Patran 2D animation or 3D, or again a Vrml or MPEG file by choosing one of these existing plots, and you can choose a different animation method, ramp or modal, and you change the offset and so on, and you can enter a number of frames. So if I wanted to save this MPEG file with, say, 50 frames instead of the 25 that was generated at, linear interpolation between them, my default window size, I can then click apply, and it goes through and generates this animation for me based off of one of my other existing animations. And again, I could view this file if I wanted that was saved to the working directory of Patran. So hopefully you've seen some of the options here available to you for creating animations in Patran, and you've seen how to customize them to your liking.